up in the focus today, and Nisha's in the house. That means we're going to talk healthy things and do all the good things to get healthy. And she heads up Ventana Wellness here in Southern Oregon, and you may want to check that out, ventanawellness.com. All right. How you doing?
I'm good. How are you?
Looking for some sunshine.
I cannot believe it's almost June.
Well, we need the rain. We can't complain. Our water tables are a little low, but we could see some 80-degree weather this coming weekend.
Yes.
So everybody concerned about sun protection?
Yes.
And I don't think we are concerned enough because I'm seeing too much reports on skin cancer.
Right. Well, I think that that's one thing that we need to talk about before we get into summer. So now's probably the right time to be addressing it. But certainly the skin is really changed by the sun. I think we all know that, but I don't think we really understand to what degree. And it's getting worse. The way the sun changes our skin today is not the same as it was even 30 years ago or 20 years ago.
Really?
So there's more damage that's done to our skin today than there has been in the past. And so we have to be careful about that because skin cancer is dangerous, and it's something that we have to keep up on. One of the things that I think that people don't often realize is that once you've had skin cancer, you're much more prone to getting it again, and those skin checks are very important to have.
Is there a common ingredient in all of them?
Yes. Well, some of the ingredients that I think that it's important to be looking at is you want to stay away from the ingredients that have parabens in them. Parabens. And if you go to, again, if you go to that website, it will list the top 5 ingredients, chemicals that you want to stay away from. But parabens leads the list. Oh. And unfortunately, about 50 to 75% of the sunscreens out there have parabens in them. And those are the ones that cause the hormone disruption. And
what is a paraben?
It's a chemical. It's a phthalate, and what it does is it changes the way it's a preservative, really. Oh. And so that's why it's in so many of the shampoos and the lotions. And I would also stay away from anything that has a fragrance in it. Many of the perfumes have the parabens in them. So I would just stay away from all of the fragrance sunscreens too.
What's the main ingredient you're looking for?
Well, it depends on what sunscreen you're actually looking for, but there's different types of ingredients. But if you stick with the water-based sunscreens, the advantage of those is they don't sting your eyes. They often don't have the chemicals in them, and they're better for you. So that's what I would recommend.
All right, we're talking to Nisha, and if you have any questions, you're welcome to join us. The phone number is 776-5368, or if you're outside the immediate area, toll-free at 1-800-363-5368, and ask your questions about going in the summer and skin health and all of that, because it is quite concerning. As more, you see people just, lay out almost in the bare.
Yes.
And I don't know what they're trying to do, cook their skulls, I guess. And
well, and some people just go and they get the zinc oxide. That's one of the natural ingredients that you can use for sunscreen is zinc oxide. And some people just go and just get zinc oxide and put it on. You can just get that, just straight zinc oxide. But I don't know what people are thinking because it's accumulative. And they say that 70% of the damage that's done to the skin is done by age 17.
No.
So you really do need to be careful in the younger years.
Wow.
And not just for the effect of the aging, but all of the freckles that change over time and the moles that change over time. And, and even melanoma, the dangerous skin cancer, really needs to be looked at. In fact, when I was preparing for this show today, I was thinking about this little spot that I have on my lower leg that really needs to be looked at. And I've had basal cell carcinoma before. Yeah. And if you've had basal cell carcinoma, which is the skin cancer that you get from the sun, often from the sun, you really need to have skin checks about every 6 months. And a lot of people don't realize that the moles and the little skin changes that you have that don't seem to go away, especially if they flake off and they come back, or they're red and they kind of they look irritated, but they just don't ever really go away. Those skin moles need to be checked.
Are there different skin types? Because some people are very fair, some people are a little bit more leathery.
Yes.
I mean, should one protect more than the other, or does it matter?
No, everybody should protect themselves, but certainly the light-skinned, the fair-skinned folks should be really careful about the burning, because they have a tendency to burn easier.
Real easy, yeah.
Yeah.
All right, we're talking about skincare as you head into the summer. Now, a lot of people might run out and say, well, I better tan up before I tan. They'll jump into one of those electronic beaches and then go to the beach.
Yes.
Your thoughts?
Well, I think that having a tan on your body, you know, it depends on if you line up 10 dermatologists, they're going to give you most of the
12 different answers.
Well, they might give you 12 different answers, but most of them are going to agree that you really shouldn't tan your body. You accelerate aging, you accelerate your exposure to skin cancer, you accelerate all of the brown spots will get more brown, the rosacea will get worse. I mean, whatever it is that you have from a skin condition standpoint will probably worsen with the sun.
Wow.
So getting a base to your tan is probably not a good idea. I know I love the sun too, and I love having a tan. Everybody looks better with a tan. They really do.
Well, yeah. Okay.
They do. They look better. Even fat looks better when it's tan.
Oh, boy.
It's terrible, but the reality is that
word picture, I don't want to see that.
yeah, the reality is it's not good for your skin.
All right.
So.
Anything we can do naturally? I mean, you have some natural applications, but what about our diet? How does that play into the picture?
Well, it's interesting that you ask about the diet because they've actually done some studies to look at colorful foods in our diet and how they work as sunscreens. I'm not kidding.
Really?
I mean, this is amazing to
like
think
a
about.
Carrot.
It's like God knew what he was doing, right?
Well, hey, what a thought.
So the colorful foods, especially the red foods, the lycopenes that have, the foods that have lycopene in them, so those would be all of the natural red vegetables or the red foods.
Peppers,
tomatoes.
Tomatoes.
They increase your body's resistance to the UVB and the UVA rays.
Beets? I don't like beets.
Yeah, beets. I've learned to like beets.
I don't like beets.
But red bell peppers, tomatoes, those kind of foods actually do protect you. And they've looked at people eating a diet that's very clean with a very colorful plate.
Right.
Those people had a reduced risk of developing UVA and UVB sun damage.
Wow.
So it's not the same as putting sunscreen on, but it does protect you.
All right. If you got any questions about upcoming summer skincare, give us a call, 776-5368, or toll free, 1-800-373-5368. Nisha Jackson's in the house from Ventana Wellness. We'll take your calls right when we come back.
Hi, I'm Paulina, and I work at theDove TV. Did you know that when you support theDove TV, you have a profound impact, not only in our community, but around the world? It's your continued support that takes the inspiration and hope in the programs we produce and makes them available to the thousands of people who are watching these videos online every week. Help bring encouragement and hope to our valley and beyond by making a secure online donation today at our website, thedove.us.
Okay, we're back with Nisha Jackson. She heads up Ventana Wellness. And by the way, it's a very resourceful website, ventanawellness.com. Check it out. And with all the resources there and the services they provide. In addition to, you have a new dermatologist coming on staff.
We do. We have a new derm specialist coming on. Derm specialist.
Derm, there we go. Not
and
derm.
He loves skin. Well, I hope he does. He's a derm specialist.
Yeah.
But the one thing that he really wants to focus on, he's moving here from Washington State, and the one thing he wants to focus on is Medicare patients. Because Medicare patients have a very difficult time getting in to see dermatologists.
Really?
There's limited appointments available. It takes a long time to get in. And so that's going to be kind of his focus is Medicare patients, although he can see kids and adults also. But that's going to be kind of his focus. He loves the skin, and he loves to teach people about how to take care of their skin.
Well, I'm surprised how many people have not taken care of their skin, and when they got older, they look like a road map.
Yeah.
Well, and that's primarily it's too much sun in it.
It's very difficult to see places on your back, which is a very common area for skin cancer. It's very difficult for people to really evaluate the backs of their legs, which is another area for skin changes that can be damaging and not good and need to be removed. And the great thing about skin checks now is that they spray a little, just for all the people that are worried about having something removed. They spray something on ahead of time that kind of numbs the skin, and then they actually numb the area if they were to take anything off. and then the biopsy can be taken. And so it's very painless, so to speak. It's generally painless. The other thing is that if you have areas that just you don't like the looks of a mole, they can be frozen without leaving scars. So there's many things that can be done now in the dermatology office, and we're really glad that we have, his name is Dr. McCurdy, coming on.
Okay. All right, let's take a phone call. Hi, Velma. What's your question for Nisha today?
Oh, hi, Nisha. I just wanted to ask you, what about the moisturized creams that have the SPF 30 in them, like Eucerin and Oil of Olay and different things like that? Is that sufficient protection?
Yes, I would again go to that environmentalworkinggroup.org website. It's ewg.org. And I don't have all of the products memorized, but I would go and just make sure it doesn't have those top 5 chemicals in it that are damaging to your system as far as chemicals that are hormone disruptors.
Okay.
So that's the first thing I would do is just look up, because it will be listed on there most likely, those products, and you could just make sure it doesn't have those chemicals in them that would be damaging.
Okay, great. Thank you, Nisha.
You're welcome.
Bye-bye.
Have a great day.
If you have any questions, 776-5368, or toll free if you're outside the immediate area, 1-800-373-5368. All right, now through the winter months, we took a vitamin D supplement. In fact, I'm still taking it.
Yes.
Is that wise, or?
Well, you know, so many people in the summer months, Perry, stop taking their vitamin D supplement, but they're so good during the winter. The problem is that there's it's such a short season that we actually get vitamin D through our skin, and then a lot of people aren't even going outside. So if you have sunscreen on and you're outside, you are not getting vitamin D.
Well,
you're just not getting it.
Oh.
So a lot of people actually don't realize that they put sunscreen on and they go outside, you're not getting vitamin D through your skin. So you really should be taking vitamin D as the supplement year-round. So, and a very minimum dose of vitamin D would be about 2,000 international units.
Oh.
Most of my patients are taking somewhere between 3,000 and 5,000 international units a day, and they're barely keeping their levels at an optimal range.
That's something you can test for?
Yes, it's a blood test, and you should have that done, because some people are really not absorbing even in the summer months, and we're not really sure why that is, why people would go through the summer, even people coming in and having a beautiful tan on their body and their vitamin D levels are very low. So some people are absorbing through the skin and some people aren't. So you can't rely on the fact that you've been out in the sun, even without sunscreen, that your vitamin D levels are going to be normal.
All right, an obvious question, but maybe we don't take it seriously. Hydration is a part of all this.
Hydration is very important. Well, hydration is important no matter what, because every single cell in our body requires water.
Water?
Mine too today.
Water.
See, water?
I just wanted water.
So hydration is very important, and in the summer months we think a little bit more about it than we do in the winter months, although we have a tendency to be more dehydrated in the winter than we do the summer. So any day it's important to hydrate ourselves, not only for the healthiness of our skin and the aging of our skin, but also for every single cell and organ in our body to operate at its highest level needs to have a good fluid intake. And you need to drink at least 8-ounce glasses of water a day minimum.
There you go. You heard it again,
Minimum.
and again, and again, and again.
Half
and
your
again.
weight, you should drink half your weight in ounces of water.
Half your weight in ounces of water.
Which for some people might be a lot of
I was
water.
going to say it's a couple of gallons, isn't it? Just kidding. Okay. Well, now, any other supplements? What about vitamin C? Does that play into the picture?
Vitamin C is very important for the healthiness of your skin. All the antioxidants are important. The only one that I would say, and I want to be careful saying this because I don't want anyone to be fearful of it, but many of the sunscreens today have vitamin A in them. High doses of vitamin A, because vitamin A is one of those things that's really helpful for the aging skin. It reduces the aging factor of the skin. But if you have skin cancer and you're putting vitamin A on it, it will accelerate the skin cancer. So it's one of those double-edged swords that you need to be careful. I would just recommend buying a sunscreen that does not have vitamin A in it. If you're lathering up with a lot of sunscreen over the summer months and it has vitamin A in it and you have a skin cancer, it will accelerate the skin cancer.
What about oils? You see a lot of people oiling themselves. What are they doing?
Well, again, the oils, it depends on what oils you're using. I like the water-based sunscreens better. Like I said, they don't sting your eyes. They typically don't have a lot of the chemicals in them. But the oils, I don't know what oils are out there, but the oils have a tendency to not be the highest sunscreen. The
UV protection.
Yes, the UV protection. So I don't really like the oils, and they're not typically water-based.
All right. What else should we be doing?
The other thing that people are starting to move towards is the sunscreen clothing. You've probably seen people wearing sunscreen hats with the brims that come out that actually protect your skin. And you can get up to a 30 SPF on sunscreen clothing. The clothing that I like now that many of the stores have is the clothing that actually is for sweating, so it kind of wicks your skin, you know. So it's not only UV protection, but it helps with the sweating too. The other thing that you can do is you can actually wash your clothes in sunscreen protectant, and that can last for up to 20 washes. So there's something that you could put in you can go to this UVB website again, and it lists those products, but you can use them and actually wash your clothes in them. Especially for areas that you can't get to. Some people have a very hard time putting sunscreen on their back. I recommend using a spray. It's a little bit easier to use a spray on your back if you don't have somebody to rub it into your back. So, but some people actually wash their clothes in sunscreen.
That's a new one. I didn't know that. Well, you know, at the end of the day, some sunshine is good for us.
Yes, you do need to have some sunshine. But again, it's that whole moderation issue of you shouldn't go out and work in your garden for 4 straight hours and not take the time to come in and put your sunscreen on. Give yourself 20 minutes and then put sunscreen on. The one thing, too, is it takes about 20 minutes for the sunscreen to take effect. And then you should be reapplying it, like I said earlier, about every 2 to 3 hours. So give yourself 20 minutes prior to hitting the sun, you know, before you put the sunscreen on, wait 20 minutes, then go out into the sun. And then just think about reapplying it every 2 to 3 hours. Waterproof sunscreen works and it doesn't work. It really depends on the type of sunscreen that you're using. And again, there's not a lot of regulation on these sunscreen products, so you can't believe everything that you read because it's all about the marketing of the product.
Wow. All right, now you're bringing a dermatologist on board, which is terrific. I think a lot of times we get little sores and things, a little red blotches, and we don't know when to go to a dermatologist.
I know, and you know, that's the thing is that over the 20 years that I've been seeing patients, and I always check my patient's skin when they come in for their gynecological exam or their physical exam, but it can be very deceiving, and I think it's getting more difficult to identify what's normal and what's not. You know, we've often said, well, if it has dark spots or it has dark areas or if the borders are irregular, or I've often said if it's bigger than the size of an eraser head, those are signs that you really should have somebody look at that. But I really believe people should be going in and having an annual skin check, just because I think that it's very difficult. If it's difficult for us as medical providers to identify if something's abnormal on the skin without actually biopsying it, it's probably very difficult for anyone to identify if it's abnormal.
Oh, it's just a rash, it'll go away.
Exactly. And so many times, you know, we just get busy and we don't really realize that that red spot or that dark circle or that maybe that brown spot that has, you know, some changes in it has been there for a while. You know how we just kind of like, oh, I think I got, well, how long have I had that? I don't really know how long I've had that. So I think it's important that we often just think about going in and having a skin check at least once a year. And then, like I said earlier, if you've had an abnormality or anything taken off that's basal cell, every 6 months is what's recommended.
Wow, I wonder in today's, it seems to me that cancer is epidemic, and a lot of it does come from the skin.
It does come from the skin, yeah, absolutely. But protecting our skin, getting our skin checks, eating colorful foods, even those yellow foods, not just the red foods, but the yellow vegetables help protect you. It gives you less burning with your skin.
All right, let me take a quick break. By the way, if you want to join us, you're welcome to. The phone number is 776-5368, or you can call us toll-free if you're outside the immediate area at 1-800-373-5368. We'll be right back.
Hi, I'm Daniel and I work at theDove TV. You know, compared to Portland, Seattle, and LA, Medford might be considered a small market, but at theDove, we're excited about the opportunity to make a big impact right here in our community. And you help make that happen. Did you know that more than 90% of our income comes from people like you? You can help us now by making a secure online donation at our website, theDove.us, or by phoning 541-776-5368.
Okay, we're back with Nisha Jackson, and Nisha heads up Ventana Wellness, ventanawellness.com. You may want to check it out on the website. It's a great resource for you. And it's right here in the Medford area, and all kinds of services, and a new dermatologist coming on.
Yes. And there are appointments available.
When?
There are appointments available now, because it's so frustrating to try to get in to see a dermatologist. It's so frustrating. So book now before that happens with him.
When's he going to be on?
He'll be here in the 1st of July.
1st of July.
Or middle of July, excuse me.
Middle of July.
Yeah.
So anyway, look ahead. And I know that Dr. Joel Klein's probably booked solid these days.
He is, yeah. His schedule is very full.
Okay.
Yeah.
Anyway, ventanawellness.com. Check it out. We want to change the subject a little bit to weight control. And this is something I think we're all concerned about. And it's amazing, the diets that are out there. And it's amazing the things that I get in email, you know, try this pill, try this diet, and all that. All right. So,
yes.
But the bottom line is, I have to tell you, I've done enough international traveling to tell you that it becomes noticeable and quite obvious that America has an obesity problem, where other countries it's not an issue.
Yes.
Or it's very rare. Especially if you're in any of the Eastern countries. You know, I've been into the Orient and down through there, and I got to tell you, they just don't have that problem.
Yes.
If they do, it's very rare.
Right.
You come into America, and it is very noticeable.
Yes. Well, we just live so differently. If you think about from other countries, although other countries are starting to have similar problems as us, but we just live so different than everybody else in that we have a tendency to not be moving our bodies. We're too stressed, we're stress eaters, we're lazy, we're not making commitments, and I would say that's probably the thing, you know, and I struggle with this myself, is that you need to make a commitment. You need to say, I want to be healthier, and here are the 5 reasons why I'm going to make a commitment to get my weight under control. And you will die earlier if you are overweight. If you are overweight, you're probably, I should say not always, but probably not healthy. So if you are eating foods that are causing your body to be inflammatory, which is really the base of obesity, is inflammation, you have to make a commitment to get healthier. And that could start today. That could start right now. And you could say to yourself, I am going to forego all of the foods that are making me fat and making my body inflamed. Start today. Start moving your body. We know that if you took 10,000 steps a day, that you would burn 400, 500 calories extra per day.
Wow.
So over a period of time, you would lose weight not changing anything else. So you need to make a commitment. That's the absolute first thing that Americans need to do, is they need to put it higher on the priority list, because we're just so busy doing all this stuff. We're running around like we got our heads cut off trying to do just all of these things that most of them aren't as important as taking care of ourselves.
I have a Diet Coke with my Big Mac.
Well, now we know that Diet Cokes are just as bad as regular Cokes.
Yeah,
so,
I know. Just a comment.
Yeah, exactly. That's kind of the mentality that I'll start tomorrow, I'll start next week. If it's Wednesday, today's Tuesday, we should start today. Make the decision today to be more physically active.
And you can gradually go into it. I think people think, well, I got to stop everything at once.
Yes.
Just work your way towards a better lifestyle.
Right. We are such an all or nothing, and I know I struggle with that myself. I'm very impulsive, and I really like to go at things full throttle. I'm that way. I know, go figure. But it's just that mentality of, I'm going to eliminate these products from my diet. And a lot of them are the packaged foods, the foods that are just loaded with calories and junk, and they're man-made, and they're really not good for our bodies.
Is the #1 contributor to inflammation sugar?
Sugar and processed foods and the bad fats, the hydrogenated fats, are all the foods that cause the most inflammation. So it goes back to, again, eating foods from the ground, foods from the sea, nuts and seeds, foods that walk around, lean proteins. It's all of the non-man-made foods, all the natural whole foods that we really want to be eating more of. And I just look at these kids today, and a lot of the parents are trying to eat good and natural and whole foods, but they're letting their kids eat these crackers that are just junk, thinking, well, they don't need to worry about it because they don't have a weight problem, but we should all be worrying about it, because really what it is, it's that inflammation issue that we have to get at. So,
well, I have to tell you, I've done enough traveling to see and notice the problem. And you know what's really embarrassing sometimes, I say this respectfully, is if you're standing in line in a foreign country, you can pick out the Americans every time.
Oh, I know. It's true. It's true. I think we're so afraid of being hungry. I know that sounds so simple, but Perry, I'm telling you,
really?
we are afraid of skipping a meal. And I think if we went back to what our grandparents were doing, where they were fasting more often, praying and fasting, and we've talked about this before, is maybe we should take one day a week and fast. Maybe we should stop eating so much at dinner time.
Right.
But we're so busy during the day, and then we come home at night and we eat our stress away until we go to bed. We should be giving our body, we would sleep better if we would just forego eating 3 hours before bedtime. 3 hours before bedtime, you would sleep better.
Now, I know you've had diet schedules there at your clinic, but is there one that you say this is a good guide?
Yes, I would say that probably the one, I've been doing this for 20 years with patients, and I was the first in the Valley to say low glycemic eating is the way to go. In fact, it was 20 years ago that I started talking to patients about eating low sugar, low carb. And it's not necessarily low carb, because fruits and vegetables are carbohydrates.
Right.
It's really low sugar, low starch. So things like, at barbecues this summer, we should be foregoing the big, huge potato and going for more of the fruit and the grilled vegetables. So low glycemic eating is really the type of eating that I believe is best for most people to lose body fat. And because it cuts out the foods that turn to sugar quickly upon entering your mouth, because that's what sends up the insulin. And the insulin is a fat storage hormone mostly around the middle part of the body. So, and it's also sort of the pre-diabetic hormone that you don't want to have accelerated. So low glycemic index of foods, and you can go to the website and just type in low glycemic foods, and it will give you a list of foods that are the low and the moderate, and that's what you should stick with, not the high.
Now, I read something over the weekend. I did not read it in detail, so I'm just going to surmise what I read.
Yes.
That the big food that's the big problem out there now is wheat.
Yes.
Now, I realize people want to be gluten-free, but what is it about wheat that's creating all the issues?
Right. Well, again, wheat is, if you were to eat bread, it turns to sugar immediately upon entering your mouth, just like a Snickers bar would. And almost exactly
we're gonna have a Snickers bar.
might as well have the Snickers bar. Almost exactly at the same rate. And so, the problem really started, Perry, when the U.S. RDA food pyramid recommended 6 to 11 bread servings a day. That was our initial problem. We went low fat. We had that big, huge low fat craze. And then we had the food pyramid saying we needed 6 to 11 bread servings a day. So that was the problem of the whole introduction of the gluten issue. And I really believe if we would just avoid the excessive wheat in our diet, and some people really believe that it's for cows. It's grain is for cows. We're really not meant to have that much grain in our diet, or any grain. So, and there's different extreme opinions about it.
And that's very argumentative. Yeah,
yes,
really.
there's different extremes. But again, I think in moderation, small amounts. I think avoiding gluten is a great idea.
I just think it's interesting that the gluten issue has skyrocketed. Where was it 10 years ago? It wasn't even on the radar screen. Today, it's even on menus.
Right. But again, this is another like America makes something and then we treat it.
Yeah.
So I think we need to step back just a little bit and say, okay, why did the gluten thing happen? The gluten thing happened because we are all ODing on bread and flour products. Flour's in everything, it seems like. So, and it's comfort foods. It helps people who are stressed out feel not stressed out when you have a nice big piece of bread. So I think that's one of those things that we kind of created it ourselves.
I got a question before I run out of time here. I just called in. This goes back to our earlier topic about skincare for
Yes.
sun. What do you think about natural tanners, supposed to have all the natural ingredients and gives you the tan look? Is it Alba is the brand name?
Yes, again, any of the products that you're wondering about, so if you've listened to this show today and you're wondering what products I should use, or if you have some products in your cupboard, I would go to that ewg.org and look it up, because it's probably been evaluated on this website. There's so many that have, most of them have. And I would look that up on the natural skin tanners. Some of them are okay because they're non-chemical based, and some of them aren't. And I would say most of them aren't.
Is it aloe vera? Is that, what is that?
Aloe vera is excellent for your skin.
Okay.
Yes, but again, it's not necessarily a sunscreen. Many of the sunscreens have aloe vera in them, but aloe vera alone is not a sunscreen, although it's very healing for the skin.
All right. Now, let me just say this about, back to the weight problem. If somebody's struggling with this, I think part of it is accountability. If they came to you, your clinic, and they got under one of your counselors, that would be the thing to do, wouldn't it? Sure.
I mean, if you need some accountability and you need a plan, I would recommend coming in. Most insurance companies cover it, because I would say most people that have a weight issue have something that's associated with the weight issue that can be covered by insurance. So I would say come in, make an appointment, let us give you a plan. I mean, that's one option. The other option is start moving your body. Like I said, make a commitment today. List the 5. Write them down. What are the 5 reasons I want to lose body fat? I want to reduce my percentage of body fat. And then start moving your body. Start walking to your car, walking further away. Start doing more gardening and getting your body outside. It's so good for our spirit, too.
That's right. All right.
It really
Thank you, Nisha. VentanaWellness.com is the resource, and the clinic here in Southern Oregon. Check it out, VentanaWellness.com. Thanks for coming in.
You're welcome.
We'll be right back.
Hi, I'm Paula, and I work at theDove TV. Every day we get letters and emails from people who've been encouraged, blessed, and challenged by the programs on theDove TV. But we couldn't do it without you. Did you know that more than 90% of our income comes from people like you? You can help us continue to bring inspiration and hope to our community by making a secure online donation at our website, thedove.us, or call us at 541-776-5368.
Well, recently we've seen some more terrorist attacks, not only in the United States, but most recently in London, which is an incredible murder of a military personnel there. Well, our guest this morning is Rassooli. Hopefully I'm pronouncing that correctly. He's an Iraqi-born Islam expert and scholar, speaks Arabic, and he's also the author of the trilogy Lifting the Veil, The True Faces of Muhammad and Islam, volumes 1, 2, and 3. And IQ, are you with us?
I am with you. Thank you.
Thank you. And hopefully I pronounced your name correctly. Thanks for being with us today.
My pleasure.
Your first response to what happened in London, I mean, I don't know if the full gravity of that attack has sunk in, but probably one of the most horrific we've seen.
You're absolutely right. It's the most horrific. And it hasn't sunk in. Because the British people, it will take them a long, long time of provocations before they literally retaliate. When I saw the news, the minute I heard one of the terrorists shout Allahu Akbar, I knew, why he did it. The brutality of the perpetrators, they are Muslims. The 2 men are originally from Nigeria, but they were brought up in England. They were of Christian background, who converted to Islam.
Wow.
Ladies and gentlemen, the instant any human being converts to Islam, they turn into psychopaths. I know my statements always sound outrageous, but I've had 480 interviews with America, not one interview in Europe. The reason I don't show my face is that in Europe, no one can speak against Islam and survive. Only in America.
Well, that alone is quite a statement. Let me ask you this. Is the whole Islamic issue really a philosophy hiding behind a religion?
It's not a religion. Islam is not a religion. Their Allah, the God Allah of Islam, is not the same as the God of Jesus, Moses, and Abraham.
Right.
Can I prove it? Of course. Anybody who Googles my name, Rassooli, Alrassooli, just Google my name, spend 1 hour, half an hour of your time. The first 10 audio videos will will prove to you beyond a shadow of a doubt that Allah was the name, only the name of the supreme God of pagan Arabia of 360 gods and goddesses in stone. So, you know, Allah is most definitely not the same as the God of Jesus, Moses, and Abraham. The Quran is full of contradictions. No God could have revealed the Quran to anybody.
How did you come to this knowledge? How did you realize?
Well, I've spent 30 years. I was born in Iraq. My parents were secular people. They sent me to be educated in Europe. And of course, I studied the Quran at home. I mean, in Iraq.
Right.
But in the Quran, there are verses that are supposed to have come from the Bible. So when I started reading the Bible and comparing and contrasting the Bible with the Quran, there was no reference whatsoever. They do not match. Everything in the Quran is a contradiction of what the Bible is. The Bible speaks about love, speaks about peace. Let me tell you something. You will not find one single operative verse in the Quran that shows any compassion and mercy towards unbelievers. Ladies and gentlemen, unbelievers today constitute 80% of humanity, 5.5 billion people, not million, billion people, who are considered by Islam as infidels, unbelievers, kuffar, kafirun. From the point of view of Islam, we unbelievers, Christians, Buddhists, Hindus, Jews, Zoroastrians, atheists, agnostics, anybody who's not a Muslim, have got three choices. One, to convert to Islam whether we like it or not.
Right.
Two, to submit in humiliation and degradation to Islam, Sharia, forever, or free to be slaughtered.
Why is Islam more bent on taking out Christians and Jews than any other group?
In fact, they are not only on Christians and Jews. Islam exterminated 140 million Africans who were pagan. They exterminated 110 million Hindus. They exterminated tens of millions of Buddhists. Islam against every human being who is not a Muslim. Look, the difficulty is this. From the Judeo-Christian point of view, it is very difficult for decent Americans to believe that what is supposed to be a peaceful religion is not peaceful. Ladies and gentlemen, you watch television 24 hours a day. 99% of all acts of terror against unbelievers are committed by Muslims in the name of their God, Allah. I mean, what more do you want?
Well, how come
they declare in public, in 80 languages, in 180 nations, that Islam must dominate the whole of the earth. It's not a hidden agenda.
And those numbers, IQ, are staggering. The obvious question that comes from this all the time is, why then doesn't the so-called moderate Islamists put down the extremists?
The question is excellent. Has anybody had any demonstration by any Muslim group for the last 13 years or 12 years since 9/11 shouting in the street, not in our name? The answer is no. Even in England or in France or in Germany or in Spain, not a single group of Muslims went out in the tens of thousands or even hundreds shouting, not in our name. Why? Muhammad said, silence means consent. This silent majority are consenting to what the so-called radicals are doing. By the way, the word radical cannot be used with Islam. There is no such thing as an extremist Muslim, a radical Muslim. Islam is radical. It has no shades.
Right. It appears that the current administration in the United States, the Obama administration, seems to be Islamic friendly. Would you agree with that?
100%. Before Obama was elected, and those who don't believe me, go to my website, I said he was a Muslim. I proved that he was a Muslim. Proved it. Beyond a shadow of a doubt. Why are they supporting Bashar al-Assad? I mean, they're going against Bashar al-Assad. The enemies of Bashar al-Assad, okay, Bashar al-Assad is killing his own people, but all Muslims kill their own people. I come from Iraq. Saddam Hussein was killing hundreds of thousands of my people. Christians, Jews, Muslims, whether Shia or Sunni. This is the methodology of Islam.
Americans still are having a hard time coming to grips with this so-called religion that is getting the freedoms and the protections of any other religion. In fact, to the cost of putting down Christianity in this country. We've seen another terrorist attack in Boston. Now we've seen the one in London. We still don't seem to be waking up to the fact that there is an enemy among us, and we're afraid to talk about it.
Absolutely. And you know what? When you have anthrax thrown at some hundreds of thousands of Americans, when you have a major event even bigger than 9/11, maybe then the American public will wake up. But your administration is totally wrong. They have supported Islam all over the world. Look, Mubarak of Egypt has been a friend of the United States for 30 years.
Right.
Gaddafi had no weapons of mass destruction. Why did America help the French and the British to overthrow them? What do we have now? We have Sharia. Sharia is a nemesis of every freedom known to humanity. Sharia is the nemesis of the American Constitution. Sharia is the nemesis of the freedom of the Americans. Unless you wake up quickly and soon, believe me, you will end up the same garbage as Europe is in.
All right. We're seeing even among different groupings of Islamists that they seem to fight among themselves, Syria's being an example. So how do you explain that to us?
Simple. Everything about Islam is simple the minute you know. 1,500 million Muslims, 85% of them follow the Sunnah tradition. 15% of them follow the Shia tradition, which is Iran, which is Persia. They hate each other. They hated each other for the last 1,400 years. In fact, Islam split up the day Muhammad died. Those who don't want to understand, or those who want to know, read. Go to my website. I reference everything in chapter and verse and page number and book number. I have over $1 million. I repeat, I have over $1 million worth of challenges to every human being on the planet for the last 4 years. I haven't lost a single dime.
Wow. So, forgive me if this seems to be too simple. Maybe we Americans should just back out of those countries and let them fight among themselves.
Yes, but you have the enemy within. What are you going to do?
Within the United States?
Of course.
Yeah, of course, yes, right.
So what are you going to do?
Well,
you already have them within you. Those two terrorists in Boston, they looked American. They were living the American dream. But what did they do? They instantly turned against the American public. They killed innocent Americans, innocent people. Why did they kill them? Why? In the name of Allah. Why? Because that's what Quran teaches them. What hasn't sunk into the mind of Europeans and Americans is that it is the Quran, and only the Quran, which is the source of all these destructions.
All right, IQ, again, give us your website for those who want to read more what you provide.
www.alrassooli.com. I would love to hear from you. You can always email me at rassooli@gmail.com.
All right. Thank you so much. We'll be in touch again.
Bless you.
Thank you. God bless you. Fascinating to say the least. And that's RASSOOLI. All right. We'll see you next time on Focus Today.
Hi, I'm Jim and I work at theDove TV. Every weekday between 6 and 8 a.m., our award-winning news and sports team bring you the best morning show around. It's live, it's honest, and it's a whole lot of fun. And you help make it happen. Did you know that more than 90% of our income comes from people like you? You can help us continue to air local programs that share your voice by making a secure online donation at our website, thedove.us.